Now on to sports where the sizzling action at the PBA has been canceled.
Kanselado na muna ang mga laro sa PBA dahil sa banta ng COVID-19.
Suspended indefinitely until further notice muna itong PBA.
Tingnan natin day-to-day kung anong improvements o kung lumalala.
And Hardy are taking matters into his own hands.
Jason on the move. Pinanata ng pambansang reverse.
Binigay kay Bo. Tres yan kung pumasok.
Sweet move by right. Oh!
Set to volley. Three. Yeah!
Marshall ulit.
Okay.
This is episode number 1 of the second season of 2OT on the Tiebreaker Times Vodcast family. 2OT is still presented by Smart. Simple, smart, game-changing. Simple, smart kami ni Magu. Ako po si Carlo Pamentuan with Magu Marjon and Magu. Hi! Isang tulog na lang. You can't realize how long I've waited for this day, Magu. Isang tulog na lang. PBA na ulit. Ikaw, gaano mo katagal hinintay ito?
Lahat tayo. Sobrang grabe yung pag-aantay sa pagkakataon na to. 216 days na tayong walang PBA. Bukas will be 217, pero that 217 will be the last day without the PBA dahil simula bukas, not only do we get the PBA back, we get it every single day for, is it 33 game days, I think? 30 plus days na araw-araw may double-header tayo live from the Clark Bubble.
If you remember the feeling, Magu, nung bumalik yung NBA sa bubble and then we started watching all those practice games, na yun palang excited ka na, yun palang hihintayin mo ng alas 3, alas 5 ng umaga. Now we get to enjoy our very own, ang ating pambansang liga. Kaya naman we are so hyped to be able to watch them play again. Of course, a doubleheader for tomorrow. 2 very interesting ball games. TNT Tropang Giga versus the Alaska Aces. Barangay Ginebra versus the NLEX Road Warriors. Yan po ang schedule natin. The AUF Arena at 4 p.m. and 6:45 p.m. Those 4 teams will kick things off inside the PBA bubble. May nagtanong kanina, meron pa bang may opening ceremony pa ba? Hindi na po kasi nag-opening na po tayo way back in March where the San Miguel Beermen defeated the Magnolia Hotshots in the first and only game of the Philippine Cup until the PBA bubble. Magu, I'm sure marami nang kumakausap sa'yo online. Kumusta yung reaction? Kumusta yung gigil ng mga PBA fans about this entire competition?
I think mararamdaman mo, no? Even just through social media, how much, not just us, how much everybody has missed watching the PBA. We can't watch live. Nobody can watch live. But everybody over at Sports 5, TV5, and One Sports will be trying their best to deliver you the action as it happens, as lively and as intense, as cutthroat and as entertaining as possible. Yung 4 o'clock tip-off time, yan po yung first game. And then basta matapos yung first game, an hour after that, may second game. Magkakaroon ng news in between. Hindi po talagang pinapaba. Kailangan kasi i-disinfect yung mga courts. So whatever time the first game ends, give or take an hour after that, doon tayo magsa-second game.
Another popular topic among PBA fans is paano po ba makakapasok as a virtual fan member let's just wait for the official announcement coming from the PBA. Kasi kahit kami po, hindi pa rin namin alam kung ano yung pakulo ng PBA, how they will be involving PBA fans. But I'm sure in a day or so, a-announce na lahat kung paano makapasok doon and how we can interact, at least virtually, with our favorite PBA players. Magu, we already had sort of a preview episode earlier this week. Pero ngayon, nag-isip tayo ng kakaibang paraan para ma-discuss lahat ng teams in the PBA. All 12 teams deserve equal attention, of course, dahil lahat sila nakita natin kung gaano magpagod. Magu, 3 practices a day yung ibang teams dito. 1 2.5 hour practice, may 45-minute na buhat. Yung iba nagre-request pa ng shooting practice dun sa kabilang court. So nakita natin yung work that they put in already.
Meron pa nga mga nag-hydro workouts, di ba?
Yep.
I see a lot of these teams on social media doing leg work, doing some other forms of exercise over at that Quest Hotel pool na maganda naman talaga yung facility, di ba? Na katulad kinikwento ninyo. And everybody's trying to make most of the time and they're being innovative about it. They're jogging. Some of them are biking. Yun yan, meron mga ensayo sa pool, aqua training, hindi pala hydro. Aqua training yung ginagawa nila. And of course, the intense practices and the weights practices. Everybody's putting the work in. Nobody's promising top-notch basketball right away. Dahil pagsamahin mo yung gigil at saka yung kalawang, yung maraming coach nagsasabi, baka a little sloppy at the beginning, pero we're still going to be watching and we know, give it a game or two, baka nga ibang team, 2 quarters, 3 quarters into it, maging close to mag-round into form na kagad, ano Carlo?
Yep, I'm sure na it will only take a little bit of time for these teams to get it going kasi pag nag-flow na yung competitiveness ng isa't isa, pag lumabas na yan kasi ngayon wala pa you're just practicing, paminsan pagod ka pa, hindi mo pa naiisip yung upcoming games, but when you get to see your opponents on the floor, ay sigurado iinit na agad ang bakbakan. So again, this is our official preview episode. This episode is sponsored by Smart. And iibahin natin yung ating discussion. We will run through all of the lineups for all 12 teams, pati yung kanilang schedule. But at the end of it, sasagot tayo, Magu, kung sino yung candidate natin for Best Player of the Conference and Best Rookie of the Conference. Iibahin natin ng konti kasi ayaw natin gawing official. Best Rookie of the Conference kayong Philippine Cup.
And best player of the season. Sabi mo, iba yun eh. Hindi pwede BPC. Most valuable player of the conference?
Yeah, parang ganon. So umpisahan na siguro natin. We have a lot to discuss. Let's check out the lineup and the schedule of our first team na pag-uusapan natin.
At hindi lang dahil letter A sila rin yung nasa first game bukas.
That's true. Pero ngayon dahil letter A sila.
Yeah, we're gonna do this alphabetical. The Alaska Aces, with somewhat a little more time under Coach Jeff Carriazo now, Carlo. Mm-hmm. We see some of the old guys still here, the veterans, but we see some new faces as well.
That's correct, no? Yung kanilang mga nakuha via trades. Of course, Abu Tratter landing with Alaska in the last conference. Mike De Gregorio, they picked up during the off-season in a trade with TNT. Si Maverick Ahemisi, I think he's the only player na hindi pa nakakapasok sa PBA bubble. He is expected to miss a couple of their games so far, but pagdating ni Maverick dito, sigurado maganda naman yung ipapakita niya for the Alaska Aces. You're checking out also their schedule on that part of your screen. Pero Magu, ngayon, kailangan na kitang tanungin. Who among the Alaska Aces are you picking as the most viable candidate for best player of the conference?
Niisip ko most valuable MVC of the
Ang haba na eh.
Ang haba bigla.
Kaya nga candidate lang. Most viable candidate.
We're expecting a breakout tournament coming from Jeron Teng. The muscle man will always be there. Vic Manuel is magiging sandalan talaga ng Alaska. Pero based on what we've gathered, again, 7 months na natin sila pare-parehong hindi nakikita naglalaro. But based on what we've gathered throughout that entire pandemic quarantine, yung Jeron Teng is looking to take on more of a leadership role and mukha namang bibigyan siyang susi dito ni Coach Jeff Carriazo. So let's see, bukas na bukas, kung anong klaseng Jeron Teng ang makikita agad-agad natin, Carlo.
ako magupupunta ako doon sa kabilang ruta. I would think that Vic Manuel will be their top candidate kasi alam natin yung bigat ng bilang ng rebounds dito sa bilangan natin for the best player of the conference. So I think Vic Manuel will be scoring and rebounding very well. So I think he will be the top contender for best player of the conference for Alaska.
You can't go wrong with either of those two. Tignan natin as we go along. Pero toss coin yun eh.
Yeah.
Vic Manuel at saka Jeron Teng, you can't go wrong with either.
Sa rookies naman, silipin natin ulit yung lineup nitong Alaska. I think 3 rookies in that lineup. Barkley Ebonia, itong si Ray Publico, and of course yung produkto ng Lyceum Pirates na si JC Marcelino. Una na ako magawa, I would have to go with...
Ako mauna.
Fine.
Ray Publico. Sasabihin mo kasi Publico eh. Inunahan lang kita, but of course, kasi kapansin-pansin sa lineup na yan, if you look at it again. Sonny Thos is not in this lineup, Carlo.
Correct.
He has not officially retired, as you told me the other day, but yung size ni Ray Publico will be serviceable for this squad.
Palagay ko naman, dun sa base kung saan nila din draft itong si Barkley Ebonia, I think they are ready to give him a lot of opportunities. I've heard that the Alaska coaching staff is high on itong potential ni Barkley Ebonia. And alam naman natin the rookie of the conference, a sort of award that we're looking at, napakalaking bagay niyan ng minuto. Dahil hindi lahat ng minuto mabibigay sa lahat ng rookie sabay-sabay. So kung sino yung pinakamakauna na makakuha ng tiwala dun sa koponan niya, siya yung may malaking chance. So I'm going with Barkley Ebonia.
And why is a good choice then, I guess? With Ebonia, let's see what happens dito sa magiging bagong bagong team ni Coach Jeff Carriazo. So the Alaska Aces, do you see them contending for at least the top 4, the twice to beat?
I think so. I've already said in one of my articles sa One Sports website that it just feels like this bubble setup is something that the Alaska Aces will be comfortable with. Parang nandun sa filosofiya ni Coach Jeffrey Carriazo, nandun sa pagiging pamilya, yung we not me mentality. There's just something about the Aces that makes me feel na magiging komportable sila in this current setup and will push them forward.
So they will begin their campaign, as we mentioned, tomorrow. Kalaban po nila itong TNT Tropang Giga. They're back in action on the 14th against Meralco, and they have a stretch on the 17th, 20th, 22, 24, where they take on Magnolia, Blackwater, Rain or Shine, and San Miguel. So 2-3 days off every single team here. We're just looking at yung magkakadikit na cluster na tingin din natin ng mga powerhouse. Yun, baka dito magkatalo yung kampanya ng Alaska, that Magnolia, Blackwater, Rain or Shine, San Miguel cluster of 4 games.
Yep. And now let's move on to our next team in our PBA competitions in the Philippine Cup. Letter B, Barangay Ginebra, San Miguel. Sila yung pinakahuling nag-practice ngayong araw. As we take a look at their lineup, they've welcomed LA Tenorio and Japet Aguilar into the bubble October 7 and October 8. First and last practice nila kahapon before their debut game tomorrow. And I wish I could report something, but as of the moment, yung sabi pa rin nila, it's still day-to-day. Lahat nung pumasok late are still day-to-day. They have yet to decide talaga kung makakapaglaro si Japet and LA. Siguro mas may chance na maglaro si Japet because LA is coming from that operation.
Pero as you witnessed, Carlo, LA was shooting. You were at practice just about an hour ago.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Doon ako nagulat kasi parang sabi ni LA, parang, sige, magta-treadmill lang siguro ko or parang exercise lang ng konti. Pero pag nakakita ka na ng tumatalbog na bola, wala na eh. Di ba? Parang, if you see a basketball and you know the passion of LA Tenorio playing, forever, for all the games in his entire career, you know that hindi niya kakayanin to say no to a basketball. So, nung nakita natin siyang nagtitira, sabi ko parang, wala na. Parang hindi na matitiis ni LA na hindi humawak ng bola.
And hindi lang yun. I think during the day, LA posted, di ba? Yung tinakbo niya.
Yeah.
Tatakbo 4 kilometers mahigit ba? Tinakbo ni LA.
5K yata yung tinakbo ni LA. He posted in his Instagram, mga 30 minutes tumakbo itong si Tenorio. And for him to be able to move, for him to be able to run for 30 minutes, that's a great sign. That means na kumpiyansa na siya na wala nang masyadong issue yung sugat na meron pa siya nga iniinda when we actually got to talk to him the first time.
If you guys didn't see that interview yet, look it up here on Facebook or on YouTube. Si LA kararating lang sa bubble nung nakakwentuhan natin, but he is looking a lot better right now. Nakatakbo na nga kaninang umaga, 5 kilometers mahigit, and nakapag-shooting pa ngayong gabi doon sa ensayo. So kumbaga, walang nangyari nung tumakbo. Doon sa sugat niya, doon sa operasyon, syempre kung tumakbo ka na 5 kilometro, kung may nangyari, papahinga ka. Hindi, nakapag-shooting yung mama. So that's a good sign para dito sa mga fans ni LA at ng Barangay Ginebra. And yung isa pang tinatanong na marami, Japet Aguilar is in the bubble. Eyewitness, Carlo Pamintuan.
He was there. He was lifting weights earlier with the rest of the team, and he was practicing dun sa kanilang first and last practice before their debut game.
And of course, ang dami mo pa rin naman mga usual suspects dyan, like sina Stanley Pringle, Scotty Thompson. A lot of these guys, aasahan ni Coach Tim Cone, especially with yung speed ni Pringle and yung hustle ni Scotty Thompson and the youth of Scotty Thompson as well. And then, aabangan na lang natin siguro dito kung yung mga rookies nila will be given the opportunity, especially do sa mga medyo dikit na games. Let's look at that schedule. Yang 21, 25, 27, 30, medyo sunod-sunod. And that's Phoenix, Magnolia, Rainier Shine, and San Miguel. Medyo mabibigat na team din, Carlo.
Yep, and that is a tough schedule. Pero sabi nga ni LA, at least merong 3-4 na araw na pahinga paminsan-minsan. Malaking bagay na when you're recovering, naghahabol ka pa sa condition. So Magu, who is your best player of the conference candidate for Barangay Ginebra?
If Japet is ready to go right away, I would have gone with him, picking up from where he left off nung nag-finals MVP siya last season. But right now, because that's a question mark, and then yung health ni LA, how he is healthy, but yung game shape niya.
Yeah.
If he's game ready, battle ready, question mark pa rin. We'll see starting tomorrow, I guess. I'll have to go with maybe Stanley Pringle.
Ooh,
Stanley Pringle with a breakout tournament right here inside right there at the PBA bubble.
Ako, I will stick to my guns. And I will agree with Junmar Fajardo nung na-interview natin siya saying that this could be Japet's time. Without Greg Slaughter there. Of course, hindi natin alam kung in-game shape siya agad. But from what we saw, he built a home gym. He continued preparing. And I don't think it will take him a while para makabalik dun sa dati niyang condition. So I'm picking Japet.
So Japet or Stan?
Yep, those are picks.
Rookie, mahirap mamili ng Rookie of the Conference of the Year or candidate pagka kay Coach Tim Cone, di ba?
That's true.
Because of this bubble setup, because dikit-dikit na nga mga laro po, baka magkaroon ng mga pagkakataon to. I like etong si Jeric Balanza. Yung tibay na loob nito, yung tapang nito, and yung dedication nito para sa laro ng basketball. We all know the story of Jeric Balanza. You like that story and you want to see him perform well on this stage.
And alam natin, warrior talaga yung bata, no? So, hindi talaga magpapatalo yan kahit anong challenge man ang makasalubong niya. I'm going, however, with Arvin Tolentino because nakausap din natin si Coach Chard, no? They're very high on him. And I think he will get more opportunities than his fellow rookies.
And maybe especially early.
Yes.
Diba?
That's true. Well, with Japet, maybe not yet in the best shape possible. May nagko-comment Magu sa Facebook, sabi niya, hindi ba nag-quarantine sila LA? Ba't sila nakapag-practice agad? Nakapag-quarantine po si LA Tenorio at saka si Japet Aguilar. Again, dumating sila 7 and 8, so 10 na ngayon. And then, the process is, hindi po kayo pwedeng pumasok dito sa bubble, dito sa PBA bubble, unless you got a negative COVID test and then wait 5 days sa home quarantine. Those are required. As in, pagpakita nyo ng COVID test, doon pa lang kayo bibigyan ng pangalawang COVID test dito sa loob ng Quest Hotel.
Paalala natin nga yan. Ano? Hindi lang po sa players yan. Lahat ng pumasok, pati sina Carlo po, lahat po ng pumasok, pati yung TV production crew and everybody, even our courtside reporters in the bubble right now, swab test, hindi po rapid test, swab test. And then, pag nag-negative yun, bibilang ka na 5 araw, bawal ka lumabas ng bahay mo. Home quarantine po. Pag nag-home quarantine ka na, on the 5th day, pupunta ka na sa Clark. Pagdating mo sa Clark, isa-swab test ka ulit. Pagkatapos sa swab test na yun, 2 araw ka sa kwarto mo, wala pong labasan. Si Carlo, inabot ng 3 araw yan sa kwarto niya. Mahigpit po yung protocol. Wala pong yung mga chismisan at bangayan na ganito, ganun. Lahat po dumadaan sa process na yan. So pagka naging negative na yung swab test mo na kinuha just before you get into the hotel, doon pa lang po sila, hindi nga sa ensayo doon ka lang pwede lumabas. Doon ka lang pwede maglakad-lakad until you get that negative test. Sa kwarto ka lang. Ask Carlo, may experience yan.
Tsaka yung isa pang ini-issue, Maguna, in-adjust daw yung schedule ng PBA sa pagpasok para parang leeway sa Ginebra. Pero October 10 ngayon. At nakapasok na noong October 7 and 8 sila Japet Aguilar and LA Tenorio. Ibang teams po yung makikinabang doon sa pag-adjust ng rules na yun. So parang relax muna tayo doon sa mga ganyang conspiracy theories. I mean, it's a tough situation that we're all living in, and we're constantly looking for the best possible solutions and still be fair to everyone involved. So let's keep those to a minimum and let's just enjoy the games. Let's move on to our third team, Magu.
Eto, speaking of tough situations, the Blackwater Elite, a semi-facelift. They got a brand new coach, Coach Nash Racela. They've got a few new faces in that lineup. May mga bagong luma din. Coach Nash didn't really get the whole time na kailangan niya to prepare these guys.
Yeah.
They got their preparation before the opening 7 months ago. And then everybody went through this pandemic. And then, yun na naman po. Ito pa isa. Kapag ka po may mga late pumasok sa bubble, lugi pa nga po yung mga yun. Yung mga pinakamaaga pumasok sa bubble, pinakamaaga rin nakalabas sa quarantine sa bubble, at pinakamaaga nakapagsimula mag-ensayo. You got less than 2 weeks to actually practice. So yung mga late, hindi po nakaka-ensayo yun o hindi nakaka-ensayo ng kumpleto, di ba?
That's true. Kaya nga itong sila LA and Japet were only, able to practice today. Kaya mahaba-haba yung kailangang habulin ng Barangay Ginebra. Looking at this lineup, Mogu, it's a good mix of veterans, mga veterano, sila Canaleta, nandyan of course. But maraming mga bata, maraming youth itong Blackwater, and it fits perfectly into Coach Nash Racela's system of run and gun. Mahilig tumakbo, maganda lagi yung depensa. Kaya nga tingin ko yung pinaka malinaw na best player of the conference bet coming from Blackwater is Mac Bello. I think he's ready.
Mac Bello. Of course, Mac Bello with his and he forms that troika with Tolomia din, these guys, and Ed Dakiwag, all of those Gilas cadets from back in the day, and especially yung familiarity na rin ni Tolomia and Bello kay Coach Nash Racela. But these guys, as you mentioned, familiar faces, merong mga bago eh. Yung Mauricio, I think hands down, should be the favorite for Rookie of the Conference from the Blackwater Elite. Pero big question mark pa rin. We don't really know. This guy is 6'8", but he's 35 years old. How does a 35-year-old's body respond do sa mga laro na 3-4 days apart? Meron pa mga 2 days apart lang na laro. Meron ba? Wala yata. 3 days yata sila minimum. 12, 15, 17, meron ding 2 days.
Meron din yan.
Mag-iiba rin yung siyempre timpla. Pagka medyo veterano, mas mahirap mag-recover. Mamaya pag NLEX, sana makuha natin yung picture. Si Asi Taulaba, hirap na hirap mag-yelo ng binte eh. Nakatayo sa Kita mo yun? Nakatayo lang siya sa timba na malaki dahil hindi siya magkasya. Pero yun nga po, big question mark, who is Mauricio? High draft pick para dito sa Blackwater Elite. Lots of upside because he is a gigantic person. We'll all get to see him once they start playing on the 12th, which is on Monday.
Ako tinututukan talaga siya ni Assistant Coach Romel Aducul. So if you get to learn from someone as tough as him, meron naman talagang pagkakataon para makatulong sa Blackwater. Wala naman sigurong ibang sagot Mac Bello, best player of the conference nominee from Blackwater. Mauricio surely will have to be the one for Blackwater. Yes, Mago.
You know what I'm hoping for finally? Etong si John Gabriel. I hope he's finally found a home with the Blackwater Elite. Natututukan natin tong batang to ng PBA D-League. Lots of upside. Raw pa yung offensa, pero yung defensa niya maganda. May timing, may butata, merong box out, may magandang depensa sa poste. He's bounced around somewhat in his young PBA career. Hopefully, nahanap na niya yung magiging bahay niya dito kina Coach Nash Racela. He can help. He's not going to be a super duper star right away, but he can help.
He put on some weight. from what I see. Kasi dati manipis, di ba? Pero yung height niya, pwede nang pang power forward. Even center in the Philippine Cup. Pero I think he finally figured na for him to get minutes in the PBA, kailangan mo talaga makipagbanggaan. Iilan lang yung mga Arwin Santos na manipis na kayang maging 4 sa PBA. So ikaw, if you're not as skilled, you're not as defensively, smart as Arwin, maybe it's a better idea to just bulk up and try to absorb that contact.
How about Don Trollano before we leave Blackwater? Moved there late last season. Didn't really click right away, but if you base it on what he was doing when he was late with Rain or Shine, and of course what he actually did when he was with TNT, lots of upside when it comes to Don Trollano, di ba?
Para sa akin kasi, Magu, malaki yung difference between being good in a team that's loaded and being good with a team na ikaw yung first or second option. With TNT, even with Rain or Shine to a certain extent, may pagkakataon na dahil sa paghahanda ng depensa doon sa mas mga gagaling, mas talentado mong teammates, baka hindi ka masyadong mapansin, which you can exploit. With Blackwater, sila ni Macbelo and maybe Tolomia, yung mga kailangan talagang pag-aralan ng team. So kung pinaghahandaan ka ng depensa, it might be a little more difficult for you to produce those similar numbers. But still, alam natin yung kalidad ni Don Trollano and we're expecting a good conference coming from him.
So the Blackwater Elite, baptism nila dyan sa bubble. Ba? Christian Sanhardinger and NorthPort Batang Pier lang naman sa October 12. So mabigat. It's going to be a tall order for the Blackwater Elite. Next team on our list will be the Magnolia Hotshots Pambansang Manok. We've been talking about, everybody's been harping about how Paul Lee has slimmed down. But this lineup is solid through and through. Ang problema, walang Mark Pingris because he's not going into the bubble. Hindi po siya sasali sa bubble. He is rehabbing an old injury. PJ Simon has retired kaya sinasabi ng ibang Magnolia fans, Pure Foods faithful, parang ito na yung next generation na talaga ng kanilang prangkisa. Wala yung big three. James F, of course, was traded away a while ago. And then Pingris and Simon are not there. Nakakapanibago ba para sa naintindihan mo ba, Carlo? Bakit maninibago?
I understand kung bakit tinitignan nila na new era. But if you look at this lineup, it's still very familiar. I mean, it's basically what they ran with the whole of last season except for a few additions here and there. Alam mong bababad pa rin ni Coach Chito Victolero yung paborito niyang 3-guard lineup, of course. Justin Melton with Paul Lee and Gio Halalon and Mark Baroka. Iikot yan. And of course, si Chris Banchero also playing there. So he has a lot of talents in his point guard position na pwede niyang paikutin for that tenacious defensive unit that he could play. Ian Sangalang will be their best big, pero palagay ko makakatulong na malaki yung presence itong si Jackson Corpus kasi siya yung Mark Pingris guy. He is the guy who will dive on the floor for loose balls. Siya yung mga asar dun sa kabilang bigs. Yun yung role niya . So I think malaki yung matutulong niya even if we don't actually see it translated into statistics.
Pero yun din ang isa pang reason, secret reason ni Paul Lee for choosing to be roommates with Jackson Corpus. He wants this kid to absorb everything he's got to give para nga daw pag nagsama sila sa sahig, mas maganda na raw yung maging chemistry nila. Ano sabi sa atin ni Paul nung kakwentuhan natin? Usually pagka kahit anong out of town, si Ian Sangalang ang roommate niya. Pero this time around, pinili niya talaga yung medyo bago sa team Jackson Corpus para, di ba yung nagkakaamo yan? Ito literally magkakaamo yan yung dalawang yan dahil magkasama 24/7, Carlo.
Nilibre niya kanina ng ice cream kasi malungkot daw si Jackson Corpus na natalo yung Lakers. Kaya binabaan niya yung bata niya, atabs niya, tapos pinakain niya ng ice cream. Papaligaya lang ng konti.
Di ba? Inaalagaan na ni Paul yung kanyang young gun doon. And ano magiging translation yan? Aalagaan naman ni Corpus si Paul when it comes to picks, when it comes to keeping Paul healthy. Yun yung makukuha mo . So malaking papel ang inaasahan natin para dito kay Jackson Corpus. Schedule nila, take a look at it again. Games to watch. Of course, their first game.
Yeah.
Well, second game technically dahil 0-1 na nga sila, natalo sa San Miguel noong March 8. Will be NLEX, nakalaro na NLEX. But look at that, this October 17 game, that's the Alaska game. And you pointed this out, Carlo. This is the first time Banchero will ever play against the Aces.
Should be a very interesting matchup between those two teams. Yung Rookie of the Conference Award, wala namang ibang rookie itong Magnolia Hotshots, kundi si Aris Dionisio. We've seen good things coming from Aris. Alam natin yung kalidad na pwede niyang laruin. But to a certain extent, I have my limitations into what role he will play here in the bubble. Kasi si Michael Caldesaan, yung bagito rin itong Magnolia, halos hindi nakakita ng sahig in his rookie year with Coach Chito Victorero, which might show you na, well, first, malalim talaga yung babad ni Coach Chito dun sa 3-point guard lineup. And we know that it's effective. Pangalawa, ang taas ng tiwala niya kay Rome De La Rosa. So if you are a 3, baka mahirapan ka munang makakuha ng minuto to start with here in the Magnolia squad.
Pero tandaan natin, these are, if I'm not mistaken, back-to-back Philippine Cup runners-up, di ba? Ang Magnolia Hotshots, pambansang manok. So you expect them to stick to the formula that got them to at least the finals the last 2 times. Let's see if it works again, and let's see if it takes them all the way this time around. MVP candidate from this squad, I think hands down, Paul Lee. Should it be?
I want to say Paul Lee because I'm expecting him to have a big conference. Pero again, yung bigat ng statistics at the fact that he is basically alone as the first option on offense when it comes to the big men makes me side with Ian Sangalang. Paul Lee will have a good conference, no doubt about it. Pinaghandaan niya, condition siya. Pero ang dami niyang kahati doon sa minuto. Ang daming iikot sa kanila doon sa posisyon na yun. Ian Sangalang is most likely, all alone in terms of being a post option for Magnolia.
So yan po ang abangan natin para dito sa Magnolia Hotshots, pambansang manok. You've seen the lineup and you've seen their schedule. Next team, a team that traditionally has struggled in the Philippine Cup, Carlo, the Meralco Bolts. But this time around, promising yung magiging kampanya dahil they finally got a big man for the All-Filipino. Of course, we're talking about Raymond Almazan.
Yep, but as Coach Norman Black told us, itong si Raymond, medyo mahaba-haba pa yung hahabulin in terms of his conditioning. No? He was the last member of the team to be able to join them in the PBA bubble. So, he's still working on being in game shape, still trying to get his legs under him, of course, coming off injury rin. Pero tama ka, Magu. His presence alone makes you more comfortable, makes you even more confident as a member of Meralco. From 2016 up to 2019, puro 11th or 12th yung naabot ng Meralco Bolts in the Philippine Cup. And they're hoping to finally turn things around inside the PBA bubble.
Alain Maligsi, of course, will be hoping to turn things around as well. Late acquisition last season ng Meralco, nakatulong naman to get them to the finals, but because ang daming nangyayari sa buhay niya at that time, hindi siya naging steady or hindi siya naging consistent in terms of yung papel niya as a shooter. Tignan natin kung paano bawi ang gagawin ni Maligsi inside the bubble.
Yep, and he said that he wants to be a leader for this team, and tignan natin kung ma-fulfill niya yung role na yon. When it comes to rookies, isa yung rookie ng Meralco, of course, si Aaron Black. Let's see if he'll get opportunities to play for his father in his first conference ever. Pero in terms of best player of the conference nominee, Magu, who are you picking for Meralco?
I'll go with Chris Newsom. Chris Newsom dahil pinili siya ni Abay na pwede mag-MVP. Kasi we've seen how New's game has really stepped up a notch not just every season, every conference na nakita natin paangat ng paangat yung laro neto ni Chris Newsom. And he's young enough to sustain those 4 times a week na mga laro para dito sa Bolts. Consistency lang ang hinahanap natin dito kay Newsom. If he can do that, he should be in the conversation.
I think so. I'll have to agree with you, Maguno. Itong si Chris Newsom produces numbers. My points, my rebounds, my assists, can play defense. As you said, can play heavy minutes. I love his mid-range game. I think it's a dying art na sila na lang ata ni JV Casio yung talagang known for that particular shot. So yes, I agree that it should be Chris Newsom.
So the Meralco Bolts will be seeing action on Monday. Day 2 of the PBA bubble. Phoenix kagad ang makakalaban netong Meralco. Mamaya natin pagkikwentuhan. Yung mga mangyayari sa Phoenix kasi nga hindi pa tayo sure. But do you see their schedule here? 12-14. Back-to-back sila ng day apart. Pero meron silang 18-20-23. Ginebra, Magnolia, NLEX. Yun yung mabigat na magkakasunod nila laro dito, Carlo.
Palakasan talaga itong mangyayari sa PBA bubble. Sabi nga ni Coach Pido Harencio, matibay. Yun yung tema dito. Not just physically, also mentally. Because, hindi pa natin alam, hindi pa natin nasusukat what effect the PBA bubble will have on players mentally, emotionally. Dahil ngayon, okay pa eh. Few days here, less than 10 days here for everyone involved. Hindi mo pa masyadong namimiss yung pamilya mo. Baka wala pang issue sa bahay na kailangan mong tutukan, kailangan mong bigyan ng pansin. But it will happen. It will happen throughout the 2 months that all the teams will be here. So we're praying that everyone stays safe outside the bubble. But there will be challenges. And let's see who will have, that stability to be able to push their team forward.
Binanggit mo na, Carlo. You gotta be mentally tough. One of the toughest teams in terms of psyche should be the NLEX Road Warriors, which is the next team we're gonna be talking about. Dahil yan, prerequisite para kay Coach Yang Giao, Carlo. You cannot play for Coach Yang if you're not mentally tough.
Dapat matibay ang loob mo bago ka maging player ni Coach Yang Giao. Hindi ka magtatagal. And you know what? He was one of the proponents of this PBA bubble setup. No? Isa siya sa mga pinaka mainit sumuporta dito sa discussion na to. And so far, he's been impressed with how things are going. And he also said na hindi niya ine-expect that his team will go 100% all of a sudden in their first 2 games. They were really prepared before March. Nawala yun, of course. Now they're trying to get it back. Hopefully, maganda naman yung idulot sa kanila nung mini training camp dito sa PBA bubble.
Akong tututukan ko dito right away para sa NLEX. They play tomorrow in the second game when they take on Barangay Ginebra. Si Asi Taulava. I want to see Asi on the floor right away because 1 second lang kailangan laro ni Asi. Pero syempre, mas mahaba naman ng gusto natin. But as the second he steps on the floor, he will become, I believe, the first ever PBA player to play in 4 different decades. Vince Carter. Mag-Vince Carter si Asi Taulava dahil 1999 nasa PBA na yan. So 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. Maglaro lang, makapasok lang si Asi. Magiging milestone na naman yan, Carlo.
Hindi ba hihingi ng recount yung mga fans ni Big J? Hindi umabot?
75 to 97 eh. So 70s, 80s, 90s. That's 3 decades.
Dahil alanganin lang siya nung dahil yung
PBA nagsimula 75, pero Mika 60s na si Jowa. Iba yung PBA history, di ba?
So kaya kasi dulo na ng 90s yung inabutan, ganon. So sakto lang sa timing din. Vince Carter talaga.
Timing din ni Vince Carter, di ba? Talagang, kaya nung January, nung hindi pa nagla-lockdown yung NBA, yun din yung hinabol eh. Makatuntong lang si Vince Carter, 4 na dekada na siyang player, di ba?
Best player of the conference nominee coming from NLEX.
Obvious choice would be Kiefer Avena or maybe Kevin Alas. But I'm looking for a breakout tournament as well mula dito kay Jericho Cruz. I think this kind of setup, babalasan ng tao si Coach Yang.
I like it!
Yung tibay at tapang din ni Jericho Cruz, this might be his breakout tournament. I'm looking for him to have big games and to be consistent and to be considered in the end. Ikaw?
Ang pinakamahirap pilian ng best player of the conference nominee is NLEX and Rainer Shine. Because with their balance, with their system, of course, Coach Yang also had his effect with Rainer Shine. Hindi talaga nila tina-target eh. Hindi nila tina-target yung mga personal achievements and everything. Nakita mo kahit maka-20 si Kiefer ng first 2 quarters, hindi siya ipipilit ilaro ibabad ng third quarter because they don't chase that. Iba yung filosofiya nila. But I have to go with Kiefer. I have to think that he really has prepared his body for this PBA bubble and
his arms.
Especially his arms. Kaya tingin ko siya yung pinaka malapit dun sa best player of the conference race coming from NLEX.
Pagka pinag-usapan naman rookie, without Cyrus Baguio, without Larry Fonacier in that NLEX lineup, Mike Ayon is gonna get a lot of time. And ang description niya, rookie veteran na ito si Mike Ayon. Matanda pa nga siya kay Kiefer Avena. He's been around, he's played on different levels, pero he's finally making his debut on the biggest stage in Southeast Asia, which is the PBA, of course. Let's see what he's got. Kailangan patunayan kagad niya from the get-go, yung tibay na loob at utak niya. Dahil pagka nawalan sa'yo ng bilib si Coach Cheng, simula pa lang, disgrasya ka na.
Mago, ano yung bagay na pinaka kinaiinisan ni Coach Yeng Giao sa mga players niya.
Pag hindi ka tumira ng open ka.
Mismo. Hindi magiging problema yon kay Mike Anayon because this guy is a scorer. He is a scorer. And he will be able to shoot from everywhere he wants. May 3-point shot yan. May solid mid-range game. May saraksak din. May lakas sa loob. So he is actually the complete package. In terms of if you're looking for an instant impact kind of rookie, siya yung papasok mo lang, sige, maglaro ka. He will do wonders for NLEX.
And as we mentioned, they make their debut tomorrow kontra sa Barangay Ginebra. And it's not going to be easier after that. They take on Magnolia on the 14th. Then you see this cluster. So 23, 26, 29, Meralco, Phoenix, TNT. When they take on teams like NorthPort, Meralco, and Phoenix, yun yung mga gusto mong kunin kagad yung panalo for you to go up, to become one of the upper teams or higher tier teams. You want to take care of business when you take on teams like that. Tignan natin how they do in that stretch.
Subukan mo nang lumamang agad no? Kaya give yourself, that margin of error a little bit dun sa dulo ng schedule. Just try to build early kasi nga, yung paglalabanan dyan, top 4. Hindi po ito pareho dun sa lumang Philippine Cup where only the top 2 teams will get twice to beat advantage. It is more like the Governor's Cup setup where the top 4 will be twice to beat against the bottom 4 dun sa playoffs, with the semis going for 5 games and the finals going for 7. So yung pinakamabilis makapag-umpisa, sila rin yung pinakamataas yung pagkakataon to make it into that quarterfinals with the advantage.
So yan po ang titignan natin how they do the NLEX Road Warriors under Coach Yeng. Of course, may pagka-home team. Dahil lahat ng tao dumaan sa NLEX para makarating dyan sa bubble. And of course, Coach Yeng used to be the congressman right there, Carlo.
And I believe they were also the last team to play sa AOF Arena. If I'm not mistaken, but I think that they were the last team to play here.
So yan nga po, no? Those are going to be the NLEX Road Warriors. Next team, nakaka-anim na ba tayo? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yan. So 6 teams down. We've got 6 more teams to go. Magsha-short break tayo. 2 minutes lang, Carlo. We'll leave you with this word from Smart. Walang bibitiw. May 6 na team pa tayong pagkikwentuhan dito lang sa 2OT.
Sports where the sizzling action at the PBA has been canceled.
Kanselado na muna ang mga laro sa PBA dahil sa banta ng COVID-19.
Suspended indefinitely until further notice muna itong PBA.
Tingnan natin day-to-day kung anong improvements o kung lumalala.
Sets and Hardy are taking batters into his own hands. Jason on the move. Pinanata ng pambansang reverse.
Binigay kay Bo. 3 yan kung pumasok.
Sweet move by right. Oh!
Set to volley. 3. Yeah!
Marshall ulit.
Back to the first episode of the second season ng 2OT sa Tiebreaker Times Vodcast Family. 2OT is presented by Smart. Simple, smart, game-changing. Simple, smart ako. At this point, pinangako na natin sa mga nanonood sa atin, Magu, we'll give shout-outs at the midway break dito sa ating halftime break for this episode. Shout-out po kina Adrian Paul Canlas, Rafael Serrano, si Jamil Benito Ibrahim from Cotabato, si Carl James Zapata. Hello po sa inyong lahat. Sabi ni Carl James Zapata, Atinya pang foul.
Magantay tayong foul counted bukas.
May kwento ko dyan, Magu eh. Tinanong mo sa akin yan, di ba? Sabi mo, Carlo, ano ba yung translation ng may kasama pang foul sa Kapampangan? Yung sasabihin ko sa'yo dapat, yung full version. Sabihin ko, Atinya pang kayabeng foul. Sabi ko, ang haba, baka hindi matandaan ni Magu. Pero ano na lang, shortcut na lang ng konti.
Lumusot naman eh.
Oo nga eh. Pareho naman kasi. Mga abridged version lang yung binigay ko sa'yo. Dumikit naman. So at least tama yung naging decision.
Alam mo, speaking of translations like that, nagtanong pa ako ng ganyan sa Panggalatok naman.
Oh.
Dahil for Mark Pingris, di ba? Taga Pangasinan. Yung nakausap ko, tama naman daw yung translation. May nag-double confirmation na sa akin. Ang translation daw, wala ni Paul.
Ay, patay.
Pag sinabi ko yun, baka sabihin ni Com, kinokontra ko yung referee. Wala ni Paul. Baka magalit sa akin. Sabi, anong pinagagawa mo? Anong walang Paul? Walang Paul, ha?
Tapos,
pagalitan ako eh.
Every time sabihin mo, mag-e-explain ka na yun talaga yun.
Mahirap na eh. Mahirap na. Kaya yung mga clean translations, parang sa Chabacano, Chene pa unto foul. Pero si Baroka lang naman ang kilala nating Zamboanga, di ba? Meron tayong Cebuano, Bisaya. Pagka sila Junmar, Nay kauban pang foul. N-A-A-Y nga yan eh. Nay kauban pang foul. Pagka naman sina James, mga Ilonggo, may ara pa nga foul. Ang saya ding iba-ibang dialect na gagamit natin. Hindi ko lang talaga magamit yung wala ni Paul. Parang kinokontra ko sila eh.
Shout out kay Mark Francis De Vera na fan ng Alaska, kay Joshua Garcia Laksamana, Janus Montilla, Jake Joshua Remo, B-Boy Obilios, Paul Stephen Garcia, Neil Bryan, Angelito Sustal, Arius Mitra, Janus Montilla, nasabi ko na yata siya. OL for hard na magpantay.
Ulitin mo raw dahil pampalubag loob daw niya yun sa pagkatalo ng Lakers kanina. Kay Janus.
Kay Janus. Saka na sa nangyari. Brian, si Matthew Atienza de Sagon, Jeneline Magnaye, Francis Noli Tivo, si Clarence Salonga, muulit na yata ito, si Ryan Kalibuyot.
Ito, Alfraez Manjalani from Zamboanga City. Speaking of Zamboangueños,
JR
Raymart Panes.
for champion.
Sige lang po sa inyo lahat. May kasama. Yun, di rin pwede. Sabi ni Jules Cesar, pwede rin daw sa Pangasinan. Wala ni Kaiban Paul. Yun nga, yung wala. Talaga. Sasabi tayo sa wala eh. Ba't nagbi-free throw kung walang Paul, di ba? Yun nga, wala ni Paul.
Teka lang medyo mahirap yung pangalan niya eh. Earl Say Clyde Aquino from Dubai. Proud Kapampangan here. Maya pabengi po kaya kayo kayong Dubai. Abak na baken. Bal na ang oras but salamat po sa panonood. At si Gabriel Jose Boris tinatanong paano ba makasali as virtual fan. As we said earlier in the show, hindi pa nilalabas ng PBA yung kanilang mechanics on how we can be virtual fans. But ako rin, gusto kong maging virtual fan, di ba? Masaya makita yung mukha mo sa likod ng PBA bench. So, in time, malalaman din po natin yan. And we'll be sure to share that process dito rin sa 2OT. Explain din po natin yan sa inyo.
So, yan po. Patuloy lang kayo magpadala ng messages, questions, shoutouts. Papasadaan natin as we go along. But we gotta get back down to business right now. 6 teams down. And we are at team number 7 right now, which is going to be ang NorthPort Batang Pier. A lot of heads turned last season when Christian Stan Hardinger moved over to this franchise, changed their culture, changed their fortunes. Yung team up nila ni Sean Anthony has produced wonders. Bad news, wala pa po, hindi po makakapasok, hindi po masok sa bubble si Robert Bolick, still trying to heal from that injury. ACL yan, di ba? ACL tear. Next season na makakalaro etong si Robert Bolick. He's continuing to do rehab here in Manila. And we all just wish him well na makabalik na siya. Lalong-lalo na kasi pagka nakapasok siya dito sa lineup na to, magiging triumvirate na sila ni Anthony tsaka si Stan Hardinger. 3 tisoy magsasamang ganun. Grabe. Grabe magiging resulta. But those two, they wreaked havoc last tournament, Carlo.
Yep. And si Coach Pido Harencio only decided to get 13 players into the bubble, no? Sila yung pinaka maliit yung dinalang numero ng players at sinabi niya sa atin, itong si Jonathan Gray is not yet ready to see action. Titingnan pa nila yung kanyang conditioning throughout this tournament. Di pa siya binigyan ng clearance ng doctor, but they really wanted to, continue his process of rehabbing dito na sa bubble kasi gusto nilang mabalik na siya sa dun sa pakiramdam ng paglalaro. Kasi ang tagal niya nawala mag-good, ba? Parang na-extend yung absence itong si Jonathan Gray. So we're hoping that he will continue to get well and hopefully see action at some point here in the PBA bubble. So Mago, best player of the conference candidate coming from NorthPort. And it has to be one of two names. So anong pangalan yung pipiliin mo?
Toss coin nga yan between Anthony and Christian. But I'll have to go with Stan Dubidup. Stan Dubidup. Yeah, so Christian Stan Hardinger, of course, best player of the conference. Last time we saw him around, he really, that triple overtime game, tying Kirby Raimundo's record for most minutes in a single game at 61. And he's just a bundle of energy. Medyo awkward yung mga tira niya, pero hindi mo matatawaran yung results. He puts up the numbers and he gives his team confidence. Yun yung mabigat na dinadala ni Christian.
Si Christian Stan Hardinger po ay ball is life. And inside the bubble, a player like him will do really, really well. Because ano siya ganun lang talaga yung pakiramdam niya as a player. You know, parang may mga instances that you really can see how much passion that he puts into the ball game. So I have to agree. I mean, Christian Stan Hardinger will have to be the top bet for BPC, but not far behind. Ito naman yung ito naman yung counterpoint. Kung may team na pwedeng magkadalawang entries dun sa top 5, NorthPort might be it. Si Christian and si Sean Anthony.
Sean Anthony, of course, eternally never got the respect, even though he's always put in the work. He's always produced the numbers for every single team he's played for. Finally, last season, na-recognize na siya. Ganda ng mga respect na nakuha niya. And we just expect him to continue as he goes along, especially in that bubble. Isa pang ball is life yan di ba?
That's true. That's true. So Sean Anthony, also great things to expect coming from him. If you look at the youngsters from NorthPort, tingin ko yung isa yung mabibigyan ng pagkakataon because, again, you already said it, wala si Robert Bolick. So, Renzo Subido should have a lot of opportunities playing for Coach Pido Harencio. Siyempre, produkto ng uste yan
Oo. Pero, hindi lang yun Sean Manganti.
Actually.
Kung habaan lang nito ng konti shorts niya, everybody will will follow suit, will really love this guy. Pero, what he's shown us in college, in the D-League, in the 3x3 League, this guy, pag nabigyan ng pagkakataon ni Coach Pido to, we expect nothing but good things coming from Manganti, Carla.
If itong si Sean Anthony plays a lot of 4, then mabibigyan ng minuto itong si Sean Manganti. Siyempre, kalaban niya sa minuto dyan. Kevin Ferrer, another really good 3. Paulo Taha also plays 3 from time to time, especially in the Philippine Cup. It might be a little tough for him to get a lot of minutes at the start, but he sure has the potential to be a very good PBA player.
And when you look at the NorthPort schedule, yung tail end, yung medyo makulit sa schedule nila, they get November 1, San Miguel, 4, Meralco, 7, Alaska, 10, Ginebra. So those are yung last 4 games. If you're gonna come close to splitting your first 7 games, dun magkakatalo sa dulo.
That's true. Magu, may tanong dito si Trey Angelo Saldivar, mga idol, sinong commentators mag-cover ng games tomorrow? Pwede naman siguro sagutin.
Ako po at saka si Coach RG. Coach Ryan Gregorio will be with us.
Ganda agad ng pairing. Sa PBA Rush naman po, si Paolo Del Rosario and Ali Peak will be, doing the honors for PBA Rush.
And then reporting from the AUF, I believe it's Denise Tan tomorrow.
That's correct. Denise Tan
ang kasama natin.
Yung kapalit niya naman na courtside reporter is Miss Selina Dagdag Alas. Kailangan 3 pangalan para tama pala.
Nadagdagan yung alas ni Coach Louie.
Ng isa pa.
Pero yung karamihan din po naman ng mga mapupulot na chismis ni Mr. Pamintuan. Sundan nyo sa social media niya at sa coverage pag kami binulong sa atin to, sigurado. Magagamit natin.
Ako po ang official na chismoso ng One Sports dito sa loob ng PBA Bubble. Again, all of the updates, abangan nyo po sa mga social media accounts ng One Sports, PBA Rush, lahat po yan. Tutulungan nating magkaroon ng magandang content para naman matuwa yung mga PBA fans na marami silang nakukuha balita dito sa loob ng bubble.
Speaking of natutuwa, Carlo, maraming worried a few weeks ago, maybe months ago even, up to a few days ago. Pero nung simula ng bubble, day 2 yata, no? Day 2, day 3, maraming natuwa bigla dahil pinayagan na pumasok sa loob ng bubble si Calvin Abueva. So itong Phoenix Super LPG, they do have Calvin Abueva with an asterisk behind his name dahil may kinukumpleto pa. I think the other kahapon ba? Yung second session dun sa 3-session seminar, nakuha na niya mula sa GAB. So kung yun na lang talaga yung isang kulang, malapit na po. We're just not sure if he'll be ready to go or he'll be approved by the 12th, which is yung first game nila, October 12 kontra Meralco. Pero ang importante po, nandyan siya sa loob ng bubble at nakakapag-ensayo, kinukumpleto na lang yung kulang, kaya may asterisk pa.
And what I like about this situation, Magu, is that nakikita natin yung proseso nitong si Calvin Abueva. Maraming nagtatanong dati, ba't di ina-announce ni Commissioner Willie Marshall kung ano yung mga requirements talaga ni Calvin? Ba't hindi parang binibring up lahat ng mga kailangan niyang gawin para alam natin kung nagawa na niya or hindi? Well, it was also because part of his requirements were coming from the GAB side. Na alam naman natin, GAB is overseeing the PBA. 'Di ba? That's the government agency kung saan naka-under yung PBA. So, hindi mo pwedeng diktahan yung GAB kung ano yung pwede mong sabihin as the PBA, as Commissioner Willie Marshall. So, it was out of respect to GAB na hindi niya nilabas yung buong proseso. Now that GAB is more open in explaining to us what is needed, 'di ba? Parang lagi silang nagpo-post ng mga updates from Calvin Abueva's process. Ngayon mas naiintindihan na natin. Just understand that it could not have come from Commissioner Willie Marshall when everyone was asking for it.
And may isa pa. It was also because Willie and everybody, kahit yung may mga nakakaalam na may mga chismis, ganito, ganon, won't just come out because some of it is sensitive material. We respect people's privacies. Kami po ni Carlo and a lot of us in this industry, we still respect people's privacies. Kaya pag kami mga sensitive topic, tayo, nalaman lang natin mula kay Calvin na nautusan siya to see a psychiatrist. Dahil nag-guest siya dito sa 2OT, hanapin niyo po dito sa Facebook natin o sa YouTube, siya po mismo nagkwento. And then, tsaka na lang din natin na ikwento nung siya na nagsabi. We just don't come up with chismis. Kahit na biro ang official chismoso ng PBA Bubble si Carlo, yung mga in a professional sense. We're talking about professional sense. Hindi po tayo bigla na lang, ganito, ganun nangyayari, di ba? Seeing a psychiatrist, you want his kids to find that out from us, from media. Di ba po? Respeto naman po. Yun lang sa atin.
Two phrases that we still hold dear and true to our hearts. Pag sinabing off the record. Pag sinabing don't quote me. Importante pa rin po yan sa lahat ng sports writers. Of course, marami tayong mga kasama. There are actually a handful here. May mga 4 or 5 ata na writers who will be also joining the PBA bubble. So we're also excited to work with them. After all that talk, hindi natin alam kailan makakalaro si Calvin. So it will be very difficult to tag him as the best player of the conference nominee for Phoenix.
Kaya mauna na ako.
Okay.
Siyempre, Matthew Wright na. Matthew Wright na pipiliin ko dyan because Matthew Wright, he's told anybody who's willing to listen, his goal is to become the best shooter in the PBA. Marami pang kalaban dyan. May mga Lassiter, may mga Pogoy, ang dami pa ibang magaling na shooter. But for you to become the best shooter, you've got to be consistent. Matthew Wright on any given night, mula nung rookie yan, he'll score 30, he'll drop 30 on you, doesn't matter. It ain't a thing para dito kay Matthew Wright. Ang tanong lang yung consistency. If he can come up with 25 every single game for 11 straight games.
25?
Di ba? Minimum pa yan. If he can go 25 minimum every single game, maybe knock down 5, 6 3-pointers every game, and Matthew's got defense as well.
Yung understated feeling ko na part ng game ni Matthew is that he can create for his teammates. He's very good at that actually. Like, hindi ka na magugulat if he averages like 18, 5, and 5. That is a very possible stat line for Matthew Wright. And he's been trying to add more to his game. Yung shooting will always be there. The scoring will always be there. So I definitely agree with you, Magu, in saying na siya siguro yung pinaka matinding pambato ng Phoenix for that particular award.
I want to see Jason Perkins continue to improve as well. And I think Alex Malyari will have a big role in this PBA bubble. He's a do-it-all kind of guy. Let's see how he can contribute to this squad from brand new interim coach Topex Robinson, of course.
Yun yung actually mas excited ako makita, no? How the entry of Coach Topex Robinson will change the look and feel of Phoenix. Lalo na kung gaano kabilis yung transition nila from the era of Coach Louis Alas to Coach Topex. How much of the things he will try to change and kung ano yung mga i-retain niya. Very excited to see Phoenix because, you know, they are a team that's hungry. They are a team that is, you know, waiting to prove themselves, especially in the playoffs. Kasi napatunayan na nilang kaya nilang mag-number 1 at the end of the elimination round. It's something that they did in the Philippine Cup last season. They did it. Kaso kinulang nga lang in the semifinals against San Miguel Beer.
Looking at this lineup again, correct me if I'm wrong, walang rookie, no?
Correct.
No rookies para dito sa
correct.
Phoenix. So let's move on to discussing their schedule. They'll be back. They'll be plunging into action on Monday. Meralco po makakalaban netong Phoenix and then they take on NorthPort. Ito yung magpatindi. NorthPort, TNT, Ginebra, Magnolia, NLEX. Grabe naman yung stretch na ito at the early goings of October.
Those first 2 games are so important for Phoenix because those are teams na dapat kakayanin mo. I mean, you can say the same for NorthPort, you can say the same for Meralco, but in terms of talent, nandyan kayo eh. Magkakatabi kayo ng mga teams na yan. So if you pick up 2 early losses, that will be tough. That will be very tough to bounce back from.
Pag na-0 to ka, Carlo, ang habol mo nito ngayon, baka nandun ka na sa middle 4.
Kaya nga.
Hinahabol mo 5, 6, 7, 8. Ganun ka-importante yung kada laro, 11 games each team. Pag na-0 to ka, dun sa arguably kamatch mo, di ba dahil 50-50, pwedeng mag-Meralco yan o pwedeng mag-NorthPort yan. Pero yung mga middle tier, pagka na-0 to ka ng mga ka-level mo, madidisgrasya ka na pagka yung TNT, Ginebra, Magnolia, NLEX na makakatapat mong kasunod, di ba? That can a 0-2 can easily just go 0-6 right there and then.
Yep, that is very troublesome if you go 0-2. Itong si Sir Jeffrey Di Malibot, sabi niya, pa-shoutout naman sa Mrs. kong diehard Ginebra fan, si Mrs. Gina Lynn Di Malibot. So kung pinapa-shoutout po mga Mrs. nyo, tutulungan po namin kayong mapangiti sila ngayong gabi.
Pustahan tayo, Batanggenyo si Sirs.
Talaga?
Pagka Di Malibot, Batanggenyo yan. Para si Attorney Odar. Boss Odar Rado Di Malibot, di ba?
Pero doon pala sila. Sabi ni Rain Francis, Sir Magu, Sir Carlo, nasan po si Miss Apple David? Mapapanood niyo po si Apple David dito sa Tiebreaker Times sa podcast family. Wala po siya sa bubble ngayon. Maybe next time, masamahan na tayo ni Miss Apple, ni Miss Carla, di ba? Yung mga courtside reporter na hindi natin makakasama dito sa bubble.
Pero maganda yung show nila. Si Apple at si Carla, may show dito about gaming. Mga gamers, tutok doon. Twice a week yan, if I'm not mistaken. Hanapin nyo lang po din sa TBT, Tiebreaker Times. May maganda po silang presentation doon about the gaming community.
Oo nga eh. Tito Rado yung tawag ni Jeffrey eh. Tito, baka uncle niya talaga.
Baka patanong kay tito mo kung pwede ba magtanong kay Odar. may Facebook group, itanong mo kay Odar eh. Kahit ano pwede mo tanong doon. At kahit ano sasagutin ni Boss Odar.
Shout out po kay Limuel Roy Nisa Parico watching from Manitoba, Canada. Tsaka si Chester Soriano watching from Guam. Thank you for watching.
Baka napakinggan nila yung isang Canadian kanina, Matthew Wright. Ina-expect natin 25 per game. Let's see if Matthew can do it. Phil Canadian, syempre. Si Matthew or Matthew Wright. Next team natin on the list will be the Rain or Shine Elasto Painters. Look at that lineup. They got 4 vets and a bunch of young guys. Makulit yung lineup ni Coach Caloy Garcia dito. Of course, you're talking about Gabe Norwood, James Yap, Bo Belga, and etong...
si Ryan Aranya?
Si Ryan Aranya. So, naging 5 na pala. Borboran yung sasabihin ko isa. And you've got middle tier guys like etong sina Ponferrada and all that. But, of course, we're looking at the young guns. Reynam Batak, at etong si JV Mocon, Carlo.
Yeah. Outstanding crew of young guys coming from itong rain or shine. Si Coach Kaloy, nakapagbuo talaga siya. Nasulit niya yung mga trades that they pulled off by stockpiling on young talents. Tapos yung mga nakuha nila, Reynam Batak and JV Mocon, correct me if I'm wrong, Magu, but I don't think a lot of people expected them to be this good this early in their careers.
At magkasundo.
Yep.
Ang hirap nun letranista at bidista eh. Hindi mo akalain magkakasundo on a professional level yung dalawang yan eh. Walang ginawa yan kung hindi halos magpatayan nung sila nasa college pa. But they are playing beautiful basketball together right now. They're actually complementing each other. Every time magkakasabay o magkakarelyebuhan sila, maganda yung nagigisamahan na itong dalawang to. And yun, sabi mo nga, Carlo, this early in their PBA careers, ganda kagad ng kanilang pinapakita. They've turned a lot of heads, but right now, yung heads na na-turn nila in the last season, yun na yung scouting report. Sila na yung tututukan mo ngayon.
Ang tanong dyan, Magu, kukuha ka ba ng veterano o kukuha ka ng medyo mas bago-bago as your candidate for best player of the conference?
I will go dahil lang baka saktan tayo with Bo Belga. Now, I think Big Bo, this is his best shot, actually. This bubble might be Bo's best shot to really snatch one of those individual awards which does not include the sportsmanship award.
Yun yung target niya.
Actually, yun yung pinakamalayo talaga, tingin ko. This might be Bo's biggest shot at it. Yung leadership ni Bo. And he's a guy who will be playing every single day. And he's already almost a coach on that bench. Halos playing coach na rin siya, ituring a playing assistant coach. Kung ituring siya nila Coach Kaloy and even the ownership. The players call him the emperor of that team. This is Bo's best shot. Let's see what he can do.
With all due respect to Bo Belga, na alam
May
naman
disclaimer ka.
idol ko yan. I have to go with Stingray. Ready na eh. Ready na yung bata to break out and stamp his class and turn himself into a superstar in the PBA. We saw what happened in the past. Nakita natin kung ano yung kaya niyang gawin, gaano katatag yung loob niya, at gaano niya pinapainggit si Apple David every time na halikan siya ng girlfriend niya pag interviews.
Nalulungkot si Apple eh. No?
Oo eh. Napapasana all eh. Tingin ko si Ray ng Batak yan.
So tignan naman sa rookies naman, maraming bata dito.
Oo eh.
Sinong may best shot to become... Kasi si Coach Kaloy took a page out of Coach Yang's book. Everybody gets the equal opportunity. So on any given game night, game day, kung sino yung maganda laro, mas maraming minuto, di ba? Everybody's gonna get their 5 minutes here.
That is true. Kaya nga medyo mahirap talagang piliin kung sinong youngster ang makakagawa ng pangalan with Rain or Shine. Pero tingin ko doon na ako sa Atenista. Yun na yung boto ko. I'll go with Adrian Wong. Good size for a guard. I think he will be able to get his own opportunities with Rain or Shine.
I'll just agree with you dahil I wanted to say Clint Dolgiges, but with a handful of other Swiss Army knife guys there, mga mahirapan din magkaminuto, no? So yeah, Adrian Wong should be the favorite here. Nanguhula lang naman tayo. So yun ang mga picks natin para dito sa Rain or Shine. Next up, the team at the top of the standings right now. Ang defending champion ng tournament na to ng Philippine Cup, at sila po 6 na buwan nang nakaupo sa ibabaw ng team standings with a 1-0 slate. Of course, we're talking about the San Miguel Beermen, Carlo.
I saw them in practice earlier. And if you're thinking that it will be an easier time for anyone else to be a champion in the Philippine Cup, I think you are severely underestimating the San Miguel Beermen. Because, malaking kawalan si Junmar. There's no denying that. But the depth of SMB is still there. Mawala Tautua is still there. So what the absence of Junmar means will be that Alex Cabagnot gets more touches, Chris Ross gets more touches, Lassiter and Arwin and Terrence, all of them will have to get more touches kasi di-divide nila yung nawalang contributions ni Junmar Fajardo, and they will still be a good team. I think the championship of the Philippine Cup will still have to go through SMB.
And sa pinakita naman ni Mo Tautua in that first game, Black in March 8, he's looking like a really great fit with the San Miguel Beer team. And si Abay Junmar Fajardo mismo ang nagsabi na parang mas bumilis pa ikot ng bola nung nawala siya dito sa SMB. Because that ball, like you said, everybody's gonna get more touches dahil hindi kailangan bumabad sa poste. na hindi naman masama ilang championship nakuha nila dyan. Pero mas snappy. Mas snappy ngayon and anybody can be a threat para dito sa San Miguel Beermen.
Mag-iiba ka talaga ng diskarte when you lose a player as dominant as Junmar. But in terms of just their personnel and itong kalibre ni Coach Leo to adjust on the fly and figure things out, kaya nila eh. And you still have to talk about that pride. 5-time defending Philippine Cup champions. Hindi nila basta-basta ipamimigayan ng walang laban. Especially, sabi nga ni Arwin kanina, they're also doing this for Junmar. They're not just out there to prove na kaya nilang manalo for Junmar. They want to dedicate this effort for Junmar as he continues to get better mula dun sa kanyang leg injury.
At saka you mentioned it kanina. It's the depth. Through the years, the lineup of death has always been there. Talking, of course, about Ross, Lassiter, Cabagnot, Santos, and Junmar. Junmar yung wala ngayon. Pero yung apat, that core is still there. But look at who they added. They got Terrence Romeo coming off that bench. They got Mo Tautua playing solid. They got Von Pesumal, solid, isang knockdown shooter, dead shot from the outside. Solid na solid pinapakita. Ang ganda ng naging lineup na itong San Miguel. And then they brought back Billy Mamaril to try and fill in right now. And may Russell Escoto ka, another big that can shoot from the outside. So they filled in with, it doesn't get bigger than the name Terrence Romeo coming off that bench. So they got big names coming off that bench. That's Terrence Romeo, di ba?
Ang tanong, Magu, sino ang best player of the conference candidate for SMB?
I think it will be the last guy to ever win MVP before Junmar. It's got to be Arwin Santos. Arwin Santos is looking to lead this team. Arwin Santos always finds a way to try and put a chip on his own shoulder. Kailangan may pinaglalaban palagi si Arwin, and I think this PBA bubble in his home province is his time to shine once again.
I will go with Chris Ross.
Uy.
I will go to a different direction and say Chris Ross. Just have a gut feel na na si Chris Ross, kasi sabi mo kanina, no, si Arwin naghahanap ng chip on his shoulder. Chris Ross is a similar player. And all of the stuff that they're saying about SMB being written off, tinatanda niya yan lahat. And he is coming out with a bang, I think, here in the Philippine Cup.
Ginagano ni Chris Ross.
Ano sinabi ni Magu?
Sino?
Sinabi ni Carlo
Diba?
Nililista niya yan.
Nakatato dito ni Chris Ross yun eh. Ito yung mga nagsasabing wala kaming kwenta. Ito, 1, 2, 3. ganto karami. Wala na raw kami dahil wala si Junmar. Yun po yung mindset niya na San Miguel, yung mga veterano na ito. Grabe po pride ng mga yan. And you base it on March 8. What they did, how they just took apart the Magnolia Hotshots. You see them with the same hunger. Hindi mo akalain 5-time defending champion eh. Hindi mo akalain eh sa ginagawa na San Miguel, how they look, how they're acting right now. Looks like they're on a mission once again. They plunge into action day 3. October 13, rain or shine ang makakatapat, and going down the order, anong pinakamabigat sa schedule nila dito, Carlo? What stretch?
I think that itong San Miguel, owing to the fact that they already played a game, ang laking pabor sa kanila eh. Kasi walang dikit-dikit masyado. They get enough rest. They get enough time to recover. And I just think that it favors them deeply because they have a win already in the Philippine Cup. Maybe that stretch of Meralco, Ginebra, and NorthPort will be a little bit of a challenge. Pero mas maaga eh. Yung rain or shine tsaka TNT, tingin ko yung back-to-back games na yun will be a little tricky for them because they're still trying to get into the groove.
So yan po, mga abangan natin para dito sa defending champion, San Miguel Beermen.
Yung rookie,
Next
hindi na
team.
siguro na Magu. Baka hindi naman kasi masyadong maglaro sila Daniel De Guzman tsaka sila Wendell Comboy. I don't think they will get a lot of opportunities.
Malamang.
Yeah.
Pero, yeah. Mamili ka na lang doon sa dalawa. And then na-agree ako. Traditionally, we don't see them playing that many rookies. So, speaking of younger teams naman, looking for rookies, etong Terrafirma Dyip, formerly called Colombian, CJ Perez, getting the help on offense that he so needed last season. Yep. Roosevelt Adams, unahin ko na, rookie yan ang pipiliin ko. Hindi na natin pinag-usapan yung lineup, rookie kagad ako.
ano ko, sige, Roosevelt Adams din.
Namili ka pa.
Actually, in terms of just pure statistics, Magu, I think he is the favorite to win Rookie of the conference for this particular batch because una, kulang yung lalim ng Terrafirma for that position. He's a 3. Could play 2. Pero ano siya okay siya dun sa ikot nila ni CJ Perez tsaka ni Rashawn McCarthy. So you're expecting them to be a run and gun type of team because that is where they could be really effective. May limitations yung bigs nitong Terrafirma Dyip. So you would expect them to try to veer away from going to a half-court battle with some of the bigger teams sa liga natin.
Pero syempre, kahit pag-usapan pa natin si Roosevelt Adams, pag-usapan natin up and down the order, medyo manipis na front line and the rest of the guys, this team, I still believe, will only go as far as CJ Perez can take them, Carlo.
And Coach John Del Cardel is hoping that it takes them to at least the quarterfinals. Dahil yun ang target ng Terrafirma Dyip, just reach the playoffs. And for him, this is the best opportunity to do so. Dahil tabla-tabla eh. Pare-pareho kayo nagsimula, pare-pareho kayo natapos, pare-pareho kayo may limitasyon, may challenges. So it's the perfect time for a team that is unheralded like Terrafirma para manggulat dito sa PBA bubble.
And they have a tall order in front of them, debut pa lang nila. Pero ang lamang nila, kalaban nila, itong TNT Tropang Giga, ang lamang lang ng Terrafirma dito, makakascout sila. Doon sa TNT, maglalaro na bukas yung TNT, first game, 4:00 kontra Alaska. They will get to see what TNT is up to. Pero sila, tago pa kung ano yung gagawin nila. So, baka makapanggulat or kailangan nila manggulat because it gets harder as they go along. Rain or shine, San Miguel, NorthPort, yung mga sunod-sunod. You can't go 0-4. Yeah, you have to go mga ganyan target. Sabi mo, basta maka-quarters, mag-2-2 lang. Targetin mo lang 2-2 to give yourselves a shot at making the next round.
And even beyond the numbers, Magu, yung kumpiyansa lang, yung kumpiyansa na mabibigay sa'yo ng makapanalo kang 2 sa unang 4 na laban should be crucial for Terrafirma Dyip. So we're hoping that they put out a much better showing for the PBA bubble.
Bagay, second game nila, Rain or Shine. Ito yung tinalo ba sila na Rain or Shine nung third conference?
Nakatapos na yung streak.
Hindi na Grand Slam. Hindi inabot ng Grand Slam, tama. Hindi tinitignan natin dahil kontrapelo to, no? So let's see if they can get back to beating Rain or Shine again. Last team on the list, but definitely not the least. I look at this lineup like a war machine. Ang TNT Tropang Giga, Carlo, they are looking all kinds of good on paper. These additions, the biggest one, of course, being JP Aram, pero with Ray Parks having more time with them, and still, of course, Jason Castro's there, Troy Rosario's there, RR Pogoy is there, and a handful of other insertions into this lineup. This team is looking as deadly as ever.
Abangan nyo po yung ginagawa naming storya sa One Sports featuring JP Aram because it's a really good story. Magu kahapon binigay yung mga bagong uniform nitong TNT Tropang Giga. And it was a special moment for the rookies and for JP Aram. Parang ninanamnam niya talaga nung pagkabigay sa kanya ng jersey because it was a jersey that he was not able to wear for TNT when they drafted him. Hindi siya nakapaglaro, no? He was stuck as a practice player for TNT up until napasukan nga tayo ng 2 additional teams in Kia back then and Blackwater. He was picked as dun sa dispersal draft. Never got the opportunity to wear the proud jersey of TNT. Now, sila yung naghabol para kunin siya. They made an effort to be able to get him from NLEX because they think that he is the final piece to the puzzle. Tingin nila siya yung makakatulong talaga to push TNT over the top. And if you pair him with that deep of a talent pool, talaga namang alam mong may balak itong TNT to really stay here in the PBA bubble until December.
So JP Aram definitely will have a big role, but as we mentioned, yung ibang insertions into this lineup, a guy like Simon Enciso. First TNT went for Mike De Gregorio. He didn't really fit in. In that short time he had with this squad last season. So nagpunta siyang Alaska. Simon Enciso yung naging kapalit. Ito yung paminsan-minsan merong win-win trade. So kung tignan natin, Carlo, because looks like both of those guys might just need a fresh start. We're looking at a big role here for Simon Enciso. Of course, meron pa rin ng mga veterans katulad ni Ryan Reyes, another rookie in Kib Montalvo, but I'm still looking at that big three. Castro, Pogoy, Rosario, that core of TNT, now with the insertion of Eram and Ray Parks, yun po ang magdadala dito sa Tropang Giga.
Grabe, no? Sinasabi natin. I mean, I definitely agree with you, Maguna. Yun yung big three because they've been there the longest. Castro, Pogoy, and Rosario. But you are mentioning a big three and saying that Ray Parks is also in the same sentence. Di ba? Parang ganun kalalim yung TNT katropa, and you have to give credit to their management and the work that they put in to be able to collect a talent pool this deep. Tanong Magu, best player of the conference nominee, is it the time finally for Jason Castro?
Ano yung sabi nung naghawak ng sign dun sa August 10, 2013? Kung hindi ngayon, kailan pa? Di ba? Yun yung famous sign na ano dun, tuwan-tuwa ako dun na ginrab ko yun, nag-IG pa ako nung sign na yun. Pero this is the time para kay Jason Castro. He's finished runner-up to Junmar so many times, or around the vicinity, Mythical 5 around the vicinity of being runner-up. Malas siya kasi he's lived in the time of Junmar. Now Junmar's not in the bubble. It's open season para dito sa MVP award. This may be Jason Castro's best chance.
For those asking kung may Leo Awards po for the 45th season of the PBA, hindi pa tayo nakakuha ng kalinawan coming from the PBA office because, you know, you have to understand that all their efforts right now are focused on the bubble. Ito pa lang po talaga because it takes so much concentration, so much planning just to be able to make this a success. No, pupunta tayo dun sa AUF Arena, Magu, and we see just how tightly guarded everything is. As in, hindi pwedeng lumabas yung mga wala sa bubble, yung mga pumapasok kahit gamit lang, kailangan i-disinfect ng maigi because we're really hoping that we do all of the things that are necessary to keep the bubble safe. So hanggang dun po muna. Yung Leo Awards, I think we can wait. We can start talking about that maybe later in the conference.
And again, bukas second game day pa lang of the 2020 season. Last game day, we just had the Leo Awards. Nag-Leo Awards tayo tapos opening nung March 8. So,
Magu, pakiramdam nung last game, parang 3 taon na yung nakalipas.
216 days ago, bukas pang 217. Pero yun nga, no? Antayin na lang natin siguro pagka pa-playoffs na. Diyan, magsisimula na magkaplanuhan. Wag po ngayon, nagko-concentrate pa po tayo na maisam pa muna to para lahat po tayo makabalik sa konting sense of normalcy. Meron na tayong matutukan gabi-gabi na live basketball. Enjoyin muna natin bago natin hanapin yung mga hindi pa naman kailangan sa ngayon. Di ba?
Magu, in terms of rookies, I am high on Kib Montalvo. Nakausap ko na rin yung mga assistant coaches, pati si Kuya Bong ng TNT, sabi niya, palaban yung bata. And, you know, it's really the only thing that you need to show if you're a rookie. Maraming talented, maraming maganda yung pedigree, but if you show that you are willing to fight, if you are willing to compete, at makita yun ng coach mo, it will mean that you will get opportunities.
So yun naabangan natin. If Kib Montalvo can really karelyebo mo, Castro, at etong si Simon Enciso. They also got a veteran free agent in Almon Vosotros. So kailangan patunayan talaga ni Montalvo yung tibay na loob niya if he wants to actually get minutes in this rotation, di ba? Heavy minutes at that.
Yep. I think the biggest issue for TNT is what they could get out of their bench. Because if you're starting with Castro, Pogoy, Parks, Rosario, and JP Eram, that is a really good unit. I mean, that could match up against any 5 in the entire PBA all day. But what do you get from the other guys who are coming in? From your veterans? Ano makuha mo from Kuya Ryan, from Kuya Harvey? Ano makukuha mo from Simon Enciso, from David Semerad even. So I think that will be the challenge for the TNT Tropang Giga.
I absolutely love, by the way, that Harvey Carey is still in this lineup. Ito yung Udonis Haslem ng TNT.
Yep.
He's the UD of this guy, basketball IQ off the charts. Yung kanyang physical commitment to the game, nandoon pa rin talagang hindi nagpapabaya ng katawan, hindi nagpapabaya ng kanyang laro, very responsible, and yung veteran presence niya, napaka-importante para dito sa tropa. And all of that will be on display right away. Bukas na bukas po. First game of the restart will be TNT versus Alaska. Right there and then, fireworks are expected, Carlo.
Ay, sobrang excited na ako, Magu. Baka mahirapan ako matulog ngayong gabi just because of how, excited we all are. Magu, we were able to have a phone call while I was in AUF Arena at narinig mo yung tunog nung sahig. That alone is music to our ears.
Yun pong kikwento natin. Si Carlo nanonood ng mga ensayo. Kami po ni Guaps, yung ating super producer / director dito sa 2OT, natahimik bigla. Hindi kami makapagkwentuhan bigla kasi narinig lang po namin yung talbog ng bola, langit-ngit ng sapatos, yung paglusot ng bola sa net, at pati yung pito ng referee. Yun pa lang po, may konting sigawan, may konting alam mong medyo hingal sa takbuhan, pero yung certain sounds na yon, langit-ngit na sapatos, talbog ng bola, yung swoosh ng net at saka yung pito ng referee. Iba parang natahimik lang po kami doon sa phone call na yan for a good maybe 10 seconds. Parang, dali. Pakinig lang tayo. Tapos ngayon iniisip mo, bukas po, lahat tayo makakarinig na ulit ng ganun. Iba po yung pakiramdam, iba. Bukas pa lang. For a commentator, I'm running out of words. I guess bukas, maybe we can start putting into words because we have to. Because it's our job tomorrow. Pero until I actually hear it for myself na ganon, actual game, tumatakbo, I don't know how to describe it, I guess.
In behalf of, PBA fans from all over the country, Magu, excited na rin kaming marinig ka ulit. Boses mo with your analyst, the exceptional Coach Ryan Gregorio on the call. So all around, just intense excitement coming from the PBA family, from the fans to the teams. And we're all excited to share this moment with you. We will be there. Tweet with your hashtags, yung PBA bubble, PBA tuloy yung laban. At kita-kita po tayo bukas ng 4:00. Let's all watch. Let's all talk about it on social media. Let's all relive the good old days na hindi ganito yung mga kabigat, yung mga pinoproblema natin sa mundo. So, Magu, I'm sure you're excited. I'm excited. And really, we're just so happy that the PBA is back.
This early, kahit gabi na, this early, nagpapasalamat na to everybody who put this together, to all of the players who willingly went in there, to everybody in there looking to dish out the stories, our sports fight team, everybody from the PBA, everybody from the teams, everybody who helped in Clark development people, everybody who helped put this together, the IATF and all that for the approval. Salamat po dahil bukas po, tenga-tenga na naman ang ngiti ng mga basketball fans. Starting with me and Carlo, and I guarantee everybody else.
Isang tulog na lang po, PBA na naman. Again, we thank everyone for hanging out with me and Magu Marjon. This is the first episode of the second season of 2OT on the Tiebreaker Times podcast family. 2OT is presented by Smart, simple, smart, game-changing. Simple, smart ako. And before we let you go, panoorin pa natin ng isang beses pa, yung napakagandang primer video na ginawa ng aming super producer na si Marco Ferrer. And on that note, we say goodbye and see you tomorrow for the PBA.
Sana lang.
Sports where the sizzling action at the PBA has been canceled.
Kanselado na muna ang mga laro sa PBA dahil sa banta ng COVID-19.
Suspended indefinitely until further notice muna itong PBA.
Tingnan natin day-to-day kung anong improvements o kung lumalala.
Sets and Hardy are taking batters into his own hands. Jason on the move. Binanata ng pambansang reverse.
Binigay kay Bo. 3 yan kung pumasok.
Sweet move by right. Oh!
Set to volley. 3. Yeah!
Marcia ulit.